There's nothing you need to do right now. You can stay exactly where you are, listening without trying to understand anything. Your body is already resting. Your breathing is slow and steady, and it doesn't need your attention. Nothing important is happening. Nothing needs to be solved. Nothing is waiting for you. You can let the night continue on its own while you rest and do nothing at all. Alex continued walking slowly through the endless forest, following small paths that twisted gently between the tall, silent trees. The paths curved softly, bending in gentle arcs that repeated familiar patterns, turning predictably, leading deeper into the forest without hurry or purpose. Each step fell lightly on the soft forest floor, cushioned by moss, fallen leaves, and small gentle roots that created a rhythm underfoot. The sound was soft, muted, hypnotic, repetitive, soothing. The paths wound slowly between the trunks, sometimes narrow, sometimes widening slightly, but always maintaining a familiar, comforting pattern, predictable, endless, calm. As Alex moved, the small curves of the paths repeated gently, each bend mirroring the one before. Shadows stretched along the edges of the path, blending softly with patches of light from the moon, filtering through the canopy above. The branches swayed slowly, almost imperceptibly, rustling leaves that whispered in the night air, carrying subtle, familiar scents of damp earth, moss, soft flowers, and warm, dry leaves. Each step, each movement, each sound reinforced the hypnotic rhythm of the forest, the gentle, repetitive cycle creating calm, relaxing the body, quieting the mind. The trees stood tall, unmoving, steady, forming endless lines that repeated gently as the paths twisted. The soft moonlight illuminated patches of the ground, casting gentle shadows that moved slowly, forming continuous, predictable shapes, curves, and lines that comforted Alex, reinforcing a sense of safety, familiarity, and calm. Alex noticed the texture of moss along tree trunks, the faint cracks in stones, tiny mushrooms tucked quietly beneath roots, soft ferns brushing gently against the feet. The curves of the paths continued without end, looping gently, repeating softly, the gentle bends creating a meditative, sleepy cadence that Alex followed unconsciously. Each curve and bend of the paths seemed familiar, echoing the one before. The soft ground, cushioned by moss and leaves, absorbed each step, making the movement almost silent. The forest around the paths remained unchanged, silent, safe, predictable. The gentle curves, the soft light, the quiet sounds, the slow, measured steps, the subtle scents, all combined into a seamless, hypnotic rhythm. Each breath slow, calm, steady. Each exhale releasing tension. Each inhale inviting calm. Relaxing. Calming. Peaceful. Quiet. Endless. Familiar. Predictable. Soothing. Hypnotic. Soft. Gentle. Slow. Relaxing. Calming. Continuous. Peaceful. Quiet. Endless. Alex
slowly along the gentle paths, each step soft, measured, deliberate, cushioned by moss, leaves, and soft earth beneath. The forest around was calm, endless, familiar, predictable, stretching quietly in all directions. As Alex walked, subtle sounds emerged from the surrounding woods, tiny, delicate, barely perceptible, blending seamlessly with the quiet rhythm of footsteps, the soft swaying of branches, and the gentle curves of the twisting paths. Each sound was slow, soft, hypnotic, creating a calming, continuous, meditative pattern that repeated endlessly, lulling the mind into relaxation, softening thoughts, and easing tension in the body. The faint rustling of leaves in the gentle night breeze carried softly across the paths, brushing against the bark of tall trees and blending into a steady, predictable rhythm. Each tiny movement of a leaf, each small brush of a branch, each whisper of wind created a subtle, hypnotic repetition that was soothing, calming, and familiar. The gentle rustle repeated endlessly, soft, steady, slow, predictable, blending with the faint hum of distant water trickling somewhere unseen, soft, continuous, gentle, hypnotic, calming. Occasionally, a small animal moved quietly in the underbrush, a tiny footstep here, a faint scurry there, but nothing startled or abrupt. Each sound merged softly with the surrounding whispers of the forest, contributing to the hypnotic pattern of calm repetition. The small movements of unseen creatures repeated endlessly, gentle, soft, subtle, predictable, reinforcing a sense of safety, relaxation, and peacefulness, echoing lightly through the calm, endless forest, merging softly with the rhythm of steps, wind, shadows, and faint scents. The air carried faint, familiar smells of moss, leaves, and faint flowers. Each inhalation brought relaxation. Each exhalation released tension, softening the body further, easing the mind into quiet focus, gentle calm and drowsy relaxation. Each subtle sound of rustling leaves, each small distant movement of an unseen creature, each faint trickle of water reinforced the gentle rhythm, merging with soft, slow, hypnotic patterns of light and shadow along the twisting paths. Alex walked slowly through the forest, the soft paths winding gently between tall, silent trees. The forest stretched endlessly, familiar, calming, predictable, safe. Moonlight filtered softly through the branches above, casting gentle, shifting shadows across the soft forest floor. Each shadow moved slowly, stretching, bending, merging with other shadows, forming patterns that repeated endlessly, hypnotic, soothing, continuous, familiar. Alex noticed the way the shadows fell across moss, leaves, and small roots, how they curved softly around stones, trunks, and patches of earth. Every detail repeated softly, predictably, quietly, creating a calming, meditative rhythm. The shadows merged and shifted subtly as Alex moved, bending gently along the paths, following the slow curves of trees and branches. Each movement was soft, slow, predictable, almost imperceptible, creating an endless, gentle rhythm of dark shapes and soft light. The quiet sway of branches above added tiny movements to the shifting shadows, rustling leaves and brushing softly against each other, whispering subtly in the gentle night air. Each sound, each shift, each movement repeated endlessly, predictable, calming, hypnotic, blending with the soft rhythm of Alex's slow, deliberate footsteps. The forest was alive only in subtle, gentle ways. Small movements of unseen creatures occasionally rustled the underbrush. A faint brush here, a tiny shift there, but all soft, calm, predictable. Each small sound merged seamlessly with the gentle, repetitive rhythm of shadows and light, the slow sway of branches and the hypnotic cadence of quiet footsteps. The forest was endless, the shadows endless, soft, gentle, continuous, slow, predictable, familiar, calming, hypnotic, safe. Alex's eyes traced the slow shapes of shadows along the winding paths. The curves repeated endlessly, echoing the lines of trees, roots, moss-covered stones, and patches of soft earth. Shadows lengthened softly, merged with others, receded slightly, and then returned again in subtle cycles, forming patterns that felt familiar, safe, hypnotic, soothing, and meditative. The forest floor underfoot shifted gently with each step. Moss gave slightly, leaves rustled softly, small sticks bent underfoot, creating faint, repetitive, muted sounds. Each sound matched the rhythm of shadows, the slow swaying of branches, and the faint rustle of distant leaves. Each pattern repeated endlessly, forming a hypnotic cadence that encouraged relaxation, deep calm, and quiet focus. The forest was endless. Each shadow stretched slowly, merged softly, repeated gently. Moonlight shifted subtly, forming new patterns that mirrored the ones before. Endless, continuous, calming, familiar. Everything repeated endlessly, softly, predictably, hypnotically, calming the mind, relaxing the body, slowing the breathing, softening the muscles, easing tension, lulling the mind further into a state of drowsy, peaceful calm. The air carried faint, familiar scents of moss, damp earth, and subtle flowers. Each inhalation brought relaxation. Each exhalation released tension. The forest remained endless, the shadows endless, soft, gentle, continuous, slow, predictable, familiar, safe, hypnotic, calming, relaxing, peaceful, quiet, endless. Alex continued walking slowly along the winding, gentle path depths of the forest, the soft earth beneath cushioning each step, the moss and fallen leaves pressing softly against the soles of their shoes. The forest stretched endlessly, calm, familiar, predictable, hypnotic. As Alex moved, subtle sounds of the forest came into focus, gentle, repetitive, soothing, familiar. Tiny rustlings in the underbrush signaled the movement of unseen creatures, soft, quiet, slow, predictable, blending seamlessly into the gentle rhythm of the forest. Each sound repeated, soft, gentle, slow, continuous, forming a predictable, calming rhythm. The tiny rustle of the rabbit was followed by a subtle flutter of wings from a small bird high above, moving gently between branches. The faint brush of feathers against leaves blending seamlessly into the hypnotic cadence of the forest. The creatures were quiet, familiar, predictable. Every small movement was gentle, repetitive, soothing, forming part of the endless meditative rhythm of the forest. Small insects crawled slowly along the moss, each step almost silent, each tiny rustle soft, repeated endlessly. A squirrel shifted among branches, its movements careful, soft, predictable, adding to the gentle, hypnotic background of sound. Each subtle sound, each tiny movement repeated continuously, soft, slow, calming, familiar, hypnotic, reassuring, lulling Alex further into a relaxed, meditative state. Alex noticed the patterns of these small creatures, their movements subtle, rhythmic, endlessly repeating. A family of mice scurried lightly through leaves, creating tiny, muted sounds that echoed softly into the calm night air. Each step, each movement, each tiny sound added to the hypnotic rhythm, reinforcing relaxation, calm, and comfort. The forest felt alive in a soft, gentle, meditative way. The rabbit paused, its ears twitching softly, listening to the faint sounds around it. The bird above flitted gently from branch to branch, the movement slow, predictable, familiar, soft, hypnotic. Insects Bats crawled on moss-covered logs, their tiny steps rhythmic, gentle, blending with the quiet patterns of the forest. Alex followed the rhythm unconsciously, slow, measured steps aligning with the hypnotic, repetitive cadence of life in the forest. Everything was slow, soft, repetitive, predictable, familiar, calming, hypnotic, soothing, continuous, peaceful, gentle, meditative, safe, familiar, comforting. Each tiny sound, each subtle movement reinforced the hypnotic rhythm, blending seamlessly with every other gentle, repetitive pattern of the forest. Endless, soft, gentle, soothing, repetitive, continuous, slow, hypnotic, relaxing, safe, familiar, peaceful, calming, endless. Alex followed the gentle, winding paths of the forest, soft earth cushioning each step, moss and fallen leaves pressing lightly underfoot. The forest stretched endlessly, familiar, calm, hypnotic. Soon the path opened into a small meadow, bathed in soft, silvery moonlight, wide and gentle, peaceful and quiet. The moonlight shimmered softly across the grass, illuminating each blade, each flower, each subtle curve of the land. The meadow felt endless, familiar, safe, predictable, calming, hypnotic. The grass swayed slowly in a gentle night breeze, tiny movements repeating endlessly, soft, rhythmic, hypnotic. Each blade moved softly, merging with the movement of others, creating waves of gentle motion that stretched across the meadow. The soft, repetitive sway of grass mirrored the slow rhythm of Alex's steps, blending perfectly with the calm, continuous flow of the forest. Flowers scattered across the meadow shifted lightly in the breeze, petals brushing softly against each other, tiny sounds repeating gently. Their faint scent mingled with the earthy aroma of moss and damp earth, creating a subtle, calming fragrance that filled the meadow. The soft, gentle repetition of movement and scent formed a hypnotic pattern, slow, meditative, continuous, soothing. Alex's steps were slow, measured, deliberate, each one aligning perfectly with the gentle sway of grass, the subtle shifting of flowers. Small creatures moved gently across the meadow, barely noticeable, soft, subtle, predictable. A rabbit shifted slowly across the grass. Fireflies blinked gently, their faint lights pulsing rhythmically, repeated, hypnotic, calming. The shadows of the forest stretched gently into the edges of the meadow, bending softly across grass, moss, and small flowers. Each shadow shifted slowly, predictably, repeatedly. The wind whispered lightly across the meadow, soft, gentle, predictable. Each movement repeated softly, endlessly, hypnotic, calming, soothing, meditative, peaceful. Alex breathed slowly, deliberately, in sync with the hypnotic patterns of the meadow. Inhaling the soft, familiar scents of grass, moss, and flowers. Each exhale released tension, eased muscles, and softened the mind. The meadow felt timeless, endless, continuous. Each blade of grass, each flower, each faint rustle of leaves, each subtle shadow repeated endlessly. Familiar, safe, calming, soothing, meditative, endless, soft, gentle, slow, predictable, safe, familiar, continuous, hypnotic, peaceful. Alex stepped gently onto the soft forest path, familiar and calm, stretching endlessly before them. The earth beneath cushioned every step, moss, leaves, and soft soil pressing lightly underfoot. The forest extended endlessly in all directions, familiar, predictable, gentle, hypnotic. The moonlight filtered softly through the trees, casting long, shifting shadows that curved slowly across the ground. Each shadow repeated softly, endlessly, predictable, soothing, hypnotic. The path wound gently through the forest, bending slowly around moss-covered roots, small stones, and clusters of flowers. Each curve repeated softly, predictably, endlessly, hypnotic, soothing, familiar. Alex's footsteps were slow, measured, deliberate, matching the soft rhythm of the path. The faint rustle of small creatures echoed softly along the path. A rabbit moved quietly through moss. A tiny insect crawled along a branch. A distant bird shifted gently in the trees. Each movement repeated slowly, gently, endlessly, predictable, blending seamlessly with the rhythm of the night. Alex noticed the subtle changes in the path. The curves repeated endlessly, gentle, soft, predictable. Moonlight shimmered across moss and leaves, highlighting soft textures and delicate, subtle shapes. The wind whispered softly, moving leaves and grass in small, gentle, rhythmic patterns. The faint sound of distant water added to the rhythm, trickling slowly, continuously, softly. Each repetition formed a meditative, soothing pattern, slow, continuous, hypnotic, calming. Alex's breathing aligned with the hypnotic cadence of the path. Each inhale brought subtle scents of moss, grass, and distant flowers. Each exhale released tension, relaxed muscles, eased the mind into calm. Every faint rustle, every soft movement, repeated slowly, continuously, seamlessly. Safe, familiar, endless. The shadows shifted softly across the path, bending around moss, small stones, and gentle slopes. Moonlight reflected off leaves and flowers, forming shapes that repeated endlessly, slowly, hypnotically. Continuous, familiar, calming, safe. Alex walked slowly, breathing deeply, aligning perfectly with the gentle, repetitive, hypnotic rhythm.